Another colleague of mine, Dr. Matthew Dailey, he got his bachelor and master's both in computer science from United States University, and his PhD also in computer science in cognitive science from the University of California in San Diego, USA. And Dr. Matthew Dailey's expertise in machine vision for robotics and human-computer interaction, and machine learning, robotics and software engineering, open source software development, 2D and 3D visual tracking, and so on. So he works a lot in very advanced areas. So I would like to welcome Dr. Matthew Dailey.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm very happy to be here today. So thank you, Dr. Naweed, for a good introduction. So when Dr. Naweed asked me to give a presentation here at this seminar, he asked me to talk about cloud computation and collaboration and things like that. And I looked at the attendees and found, okay, most of these people are high-level people working in enterprises, focusing on things like distribution, manufacturing, areas like that. All right, and I was thinking, well, what could I possibly? I'm an IT geek, right? What could I possibly have to say about cloud that could be interesting to this crowd? Okay, so I still don't know. No, I'm kidding. I'll tell you. I'll try to tell you some things about cloud computation and computing for the enterprise that might be a little bit new to some of you in this area. So I'm no expert in enterprise architecture, but I'll try to link up with enterprise architecture along the lines of Professor Gulej's presentation this morning. So then I'm going to talk about business process management, right, and tools for business process management. And then I'll reveal to you that I'm an open source evangelist in a way. So I'll try to argue for the use of open source technologies in this particular area. I think this area is particularly well suited for open source. And then we'll take a look at how cloud computing can come into this picture. In particular, looking at modern or some of the new platform as a service models that are emerging nowadays. Okay, so. So again, I'm no expert in enterprise architecture, but at least from my point of view, the important thing to know about EA is that while in many ways it was inspired from the IT industry, right? EA tries to focus very much on the enterprise at an enterprise-wide level, right? So it's primarily about business, and IT is only a tool that's subservient to the business architecture. So anyway, what practitioners tend to do, right? They start with some vision or strategy. They identify as-is architectures, analyze gaps, and then plan solutions to close these gaps. Okay, so if you look at some of the important facets of an enterprise architecture, there's the business architecture, right, which focuses primarily on business processes that are going on in the organization, and then you have the IT, the IT components that relate to the business, so data architecture, application, and technology architecture. Okay, so I guess we can say that okay, I already said this, that the scope is broader than originally envisioned for enterprise architecture. So I'm going to look at it from the business perspective and the IT perspective, right? This is an IT session. So we'll look at, on the business side, business process management as an emerging and rapidly maturing area of technology. And then I'll look at cloud computing and how this might play a role. Okay. So let me talk about business process management a bit. Actually, it goes back to, well, probably goes back to, has origins in process optimization and so on, all the way back to the beginning of manufacturing, right? But in the modern sense, I think we can trace it back to business process automation tools in the software area back in the 1980s, okay? So in the 90s, the technology and the thinking evolved towards this approach that is sometimes called business process reengineering, right? So the idea is we want to transform the enterprise's processes, right, without really thinking about what's going on today, right, but just starting with a clean slate and say what should we be doing and how can we eliminate all of this non-productive work that's going on in the enterprise. Okay, so business process reengineering kind of got a bad reputation as being a little too radical and a little bit not quite focused on human factors, right? But in any case, nowadays it's a completely standard practice in modern enterprises to focus on the business process and how to optimize the process in whatever area you're in. Okay. So anyway, so now the modern practices in business process management are very much tend to be very much iterative and focusing on continuous improvement through analysis and re-engineering and monitoring. Okay. So what are we trying to do in BPM? Well, some of the goals that we hope to achieve are, first of all, to help the humans in our enterprise to avoid tedious, repetitive tasks, right, and focus on the value-added decision-making and other value-added tasks that we would like them to be spending their time on. Another important aspect of process management is that we want to achieve rapid change. Okay, so as business opportunities arise or as new regulations come up from various governments, or just in order to reduce costs of doing business, right? We want to be able to rapidly change the way that we do business, right? And so through BPM, the goal is that by changing the process definition, then we can thereby transform the way that the business is working. Okay, so the last important goal, I think, for BPM is monitoring. So if you're using BPM practices in your enterprise and you're not monitoring, first of all, compliance to the processes that you've defined, then you don't know where you stand. So you need to be able to control and monitor and ensure compliance to the processes as they exist. Through monitoring, you can also identify bottlenecks and opportunities for optimization. Okay. All right. So now, actually, as I mentioned, right, process management could apply to any kind of business process. It need not be automated or IT-centric or anything like that. But now we're talking about mostly IT tools, so we'll focus a little bit on IT-enabled, either partially or wholly automated processes. Okay. All right. So what are the tools for BPM as they exist today? The main areas are in the design of processes, in process mining, and then in the actual execution of processes and monitoring of those processes. So I'll talk a little bit about each of these areas in turn. Okay. So a process design tool, what it tries to give you is an intuitive way for a business analyst to specify either an existing process or a to-be process, right, in a notation that is actually understandable by human beings who are not IT specialists, right? So these tools, right, that allow process design, so they're nowadays, it's a good thing that most tools will support the use of open standards for the specification and modeling of processes, of the process definitions. Just to mention one popular model or standard today is BPMN 2.0. This standard is emerged in 2011 or was finalized in 2011. So this is one of the promising open standards for specification of business processes in a form that they can be executed by a process engine and monitored during that time. Okay. So anyway, so there are many tools that allow you to specify BPMN processes, right, and deploy those to process engines and so on. Okay, and one important capability of these tools is that they allow you to specify not only automated processes, right, where you have just a simple flow chart with decisions and then access to external services, right, but also allow interaction with human users, right? So that's the important aspect of collaboration in these tools. Okay. So now I'll talk about, so that's the design aspect. So we'd like to be able to have a business analyst be able to specify a process in a notation that is intuitive, right? Now, what if we don't have a business analyst who knows what the current process is? Is it possible to automatically obtain a specification of an ongoing or running process through some magic, right? Well, that's the goal of business process mining. So the idea here is that we would like to take some of the events that are logged by an IT system, such as an ERP system or what have you, right, to associate these transactions or logs with particular instances of a process, right? And from the sequence of events that you observe to actually construct the business process model. Okay, so this is in a way it seems like it might be a pipe dream, right? To be able to automatically infer processes just by partial observation of what's going on in the enterprise. But anyway, these tools do exist. They're rapidly maturing, and they can be quite effective. So one such tool that's an open source tool is called ProM. So this is the process mining framework from one of the universities that specializes in research in this area in the Netherlands, Eindhoven Technical University. So this particular tool supports a lot of different analysis techniques, can connect to different kinds of systems, extract information from different types of logs, and you have the ability to build your own plugins to deploy in this tool in order to analyze ongoing, running, real execution of processes, and from that infer business process models. Okay, so that's ProM, one of these tools. So then the third area of tooling for BPM is execution and monitoring. So the idea now is you take this process that's been specified by the business analyst, and you might have to have IT people be able to refine it a bit to add things like what happens in case of exceptions and some additional work from the IT side. But then the idea is we can deploy this process to a process engine, right, and then fire it off. Let it start running, and let it and give us the capability to monitor the ongoing status of the processes that are running within the enterprise. Okay, and of course these tools, to the extent that they need to interact with humans, then they'll support to some extent interaction with human users, filling out of forms, notifying that certain events in the real world have actually taken place, and so on. Okay. So that's the monitoring tools. Okay, so if you take a look at the tools that are available out there, there are many commercial tools, and there are also quite a few open source tools that are available. So the commercial products, what they're trying to do is trying to give you basically, I guess, plug and play capabilities, right? You deploy the application, and then the goal is to almost eliminate IT support from the process. So that's good. So there's good support from the commercial side, whereas the open source tools tend to be a little bit more developer focused, right? So that they're tools that a development team can use in a broader development context. Anyway, these open source tools can be quite effective. Obviously you don't have to pay for them, although you're going to end up with extra costs in terms of customization and integration and so on. Okay, so that leads me to the second topic that I wanted to discuss, which is cloud computation. So to go back, right? So I tell you that, okay, open source technology is good. It's quite competitive with commercial products that are available in this particular space. Both the commercial tools and the open source tools are using open standards, right? So there's some promise of limited, cross-platform, possibilities that you could take a process that's running in one engine and move it to another in principle, right? So that's wonderful. But these open source tools, right, still require extra work from your IT support. So is there some point at which the necessary IT expertise could be overcome by other factors? So maybe cloud computing is one such platform that could change the balance of this equation. So anyway, I think everybody knows about cloud computation and some of the benefits that it promises, right? Okay, you only pay for the services that you use, right? You can get high quality, robust, reliable, available IT solutions without having to have your own IT department involved. It's possible. Also, it's a very nice way to be able to try out to actually build a prototype or a new product without committing to all the infrastructure necessary on premises in order to develop and deploy and provision that particular service. So when we talk about tools like business process management for the enterprise and things like that, then we have the ability. Okay, so I should mention, if you're not familiar, in cloud computation, they have three service models that are widely known and well understood. Well, I don't know if they're well understood, but anyway, the three commonly cited service models for cloud services. So we have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay, so on the infrastructure side, right, what do? You can either build your private cloud, or you can pay money to Amazon or any of a number of other public cloud infrastructure providers, right? You can deploy virtual machines. You can build your solutions from the ground up based on this cloud infrastructure. On the other hand, software as a service, right? When we're talking about software as a service, the software is provisioned in the cloud for your enterprise, right? You pay a service fee for the use of the application, and then the service provider is in charge of everything, right? So for sure, there are situations where infrastructure as a service or software as a service might make sense for your organization for specific types of deployments. But what I want to talk a little bit more about is this concept of platform as a service, right? Which might not be so well understood by non-IT people, right? So what about platform as a service? So what these platforms offer to enterprise developers is, okay, application deployment. So they offer a platform where you can very easily deploy your applications. The tools will try to automate the management of the life cycle of your applications, right? So you don't have to worry about deployment and scaling and all of these issues that come up in maintenance of such an application. They also integrate with other services. For example, could be authentication, could be access to external services, many different external services that you could access more easily through the platform than if you were developing a solution on your own. And then, of course, easy integration through web services. So tools that you deploy on these platforms can relatively easily integrate with other platforms. Okay. So anyway, what platform as a service hopes to offer to the enterprise is this possibility that we can move from new requirements or a new vision to a deployed product very rapidly. Okay, more rapidly than we could if we deploy the solution on our own, right? And possibly more cheaply than if we buy a prepackaged solution and then just deploy it. Okay. However, if you take a look at this space, I think it's fair to say that it's a relatively immature area, right? So So there are a lot of platforms cloud platforms that have been born and died already, right? So there's still some risk in this area. However, I think that we're at the point where maturity on these platforms is starting to emerge. Okay. So I want to give you a simple one particular example of a platform as a service that might be useful to your enterprise. This one is called CloudBees. So the idea here is that they're going to embed in the platform. This particular company is only a few years old, right? But what they promise is to give you embedded in their platform best practices for software development, right? For continuous integration, continuous delivery, and so on. They provide you an environment where you can easily deploy your applications, where you don't have to do much work as a developer or a integration engineer, and so on. Okay. Also, this tool will integrate with multiple infrastructure as a service backends, right? So if you want to deploy to Amazon, it will aid you in doing so. If you want to deploy to a different cloud provider, it will help you to do so. So this is an area that I think is rapidly emerging and worth paying attention to for anybody working on enterprise solutions. So I think you should pay attention. CloudBees in particular is interesting because they offer this idea of with a one-click deployment, right? Where you can, with one click, right, you can have your Java EE application server, right? With another click, you can have your Tomcat web container. With another click, you can have your activity business process engine, right? With another click, right, you get the idea, right? Now, of course, there has to be some customization and configuration, right? But still, the promise is the turnaround from an idea to an actual enterprise-ready product that you can try promises to be much faster. So anyway, so I think this is an interesting area to look at in particular for business process management, where if you're thinking about adopting a BPM tool suite, right, then cloud infrastructure is a particularly attractive solution where you can do some prototyping, you can do some initial deployment, you can do some iterative development of solutions, right, and see if that solution is going to work for you. So anyway, so this is I think it's a really promising area where cloud computation and the enterprise and web-based collaboration can all come together in one nice package. Okay. Now, of course, if you're going to work with open source solutions, you still need some level of expertise. 5 or 2 minutes? Okay. All right. Okay. No problem. Oh, okay. I didn't hear that one. Okay. So anyway, yeah. So you need a bit of skill in IT, right? And in particular with systems integration, right? You need all of these standard enterprise application development skills, in distributed systems and so on. However, if you are interested in looking into this step, right? The benefits that you might achieve, right? Increased collaboration in your enterprise, clear responsibilities for different teams and organizations within the enterprise, increasingly effective management of your business processes, right? With more value-added work and less paper pushing and so on. And then, of course, the open source component is that you own your own IT, right? You don't, it's not another vendor that owns your IT. You're in full control. Okay. So anyway, so if you need help in building capacity in these areas, then talk to AIT. Okay. Okay. And Paul also mentioned that I would say something about the ongoing research at AIT. Actually, we're very interested in all of in research and development related to these topics. So I'm from computer science and information management, right? And so we're particularly interested in these kinds of solutions for the enterprise. We have ongoing research in the program on topics like business process mining, giving assistance to business analysts that are working on business process design, all right? So kind of expert systems for helping them with the design process. We're also very active in cloud computation on the infrastructure and technical side, right? So we work on cloud simulation. We look at automated provisioning for web applications and other, both for public and private clouds. And we're also looking at trying to come up with tools and methodologies for actually costing, actually determining in advance what is going to be the cost to deploy on a particular cloud, specific applications with specific goals. So these are some of the research topics that we're currently pursuing at AIT. So if you're interested, then please feel free to contact me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.